Now, when it comes to being an unstoppable or an unguardable NBA basketball player, I think there are three factors that goes into it. Number one, I think this one is very obvious. You have to be able to get a bucket against one-on-one coverage at will. Number two, and I know this one might sound weird, but your scoring abilities should make everyone else's job around them a lot easier on the offensive side of the ball. Your threat as a scorer should be getting your teammates very easy, very wide open looks, whether it's from the three-point line, whether it's cutting to the rim for a layup, whether it's in transition. I think your scoring ability should pull so much gravity towards you that it's leaving your teammates wide open. And thirdly, this one is also very important. You have to be consistent. You have to be able to be unguardable over the entire course of an NBA season, and also carry that into the playoffs and take your game to a new level, or stay at that level that you're playing at in the regular season. Preferably take it to a whole nother level. And some of the guys that have reached that status so far in the NBA, we look at some of the older guys in this league: Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Stephen Curry. They are still, in my opinion, unguardable in today's NBA. Some of the younger guys in this league, so many of them. There's so many unguardable players in today's game. Nikola Jokic falls into that category. Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, and there's probably a few guys that I'm forgetting. But another guy that I'm ready to put in this category of unguardable players, I've definitely seen enough for him, and that player is De'Aaron Fox. Now, before we get into what makes De'Aaron Fox an unstoppable and an unguardable basketball player, I just want to tell you guys the first time I ever heard of De'Aaron Fox was back when he was in college, and it wasn't towards the beginning of his collegiate career. It was towards the end in the NCAA tournament, and please don't kill me for that. I'm not the biggest collegiate basketball fan. I just really love the NBA, but nonetheless, I remember back then Lonzo Ball was a super popular basketball player, super popular in high school, and that popularity carried over to college. And I remember back then, 70% of the time, it was almost every day, the media would be talking about which NBA team is Lonzo Ball going to end up playing for. And also at the time, De'Aaron Fox was a top-rated point guard when he was in high school and a top-rated point guard when he was in college, and everyone knew both of these guys were going to be lottery picks. And coincidentally, these guys end up meeting in the NCAA tournament, and I remember back then seeing De'Aaron Fox for the first time, man, playing for Kentucky, super skinny at the time. He had the crazy afro, and he was a left-handed player, so he just looked really cool out there getting his buckets. And I remember him giving Lonzo Ball 37 points and eliminating his team from the tournament. And ever since then, I've been a huge fan of De'Aaron Fox, and it's actually pretty cool to see him get the hype that he's getting today, and most importantly, getting the recognition that he deserves today, because we all know how it is when you get drafted to a team. And the Sacramento Kings, we all know what they've been through over almost the last 20 years of not being able to get to the postseason. And De'Aaron Fox had to endure a little bit of that at the beginning of his career because it just wasn't enough talent around him. So it's good to see that the Sacramento Kings were able to fix that and get a really good team around De'Aaron Fox. And now I would say he's one of the most respected basketball players in all of the NBA. All right, now that I've told you guys my little fanboy story about De'Aaron Fox, now we can get into what actually makes him an unstoppable NBA basketball player. So we talked about those factors at the beginning of the video, and I actually think De'Aaron Fox checks off all three of those factors. And the first one was just being able to score against your man in one-on-one situations at will, and nobody in this NBA can guard De'Aaron Fox one-on-one. I just watched him get to his spots and get his buckets way too often in this league. The only person that can stop De'Aaron Fox is De'Aaron Fox. You gotta pray that he's gonna have an off game and that his shots is just not gonna fall. But looking at De'Aaron Fox, something that he needed to work in when he first came into the league was his three-point shot. It was something that he needed to get more consistent at. And I think last season and what we've seen so far this season, his three-point shot is definitely there. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say De'Aaron Fox shot somewhere around 35, 36, 37% from the three-point line last season. I should have probably looked that up before I started this segment of the video, but I believe he shot somewhere in that range. And if he's shooting the 3 ball at that clip, given everything else that he can do on the offensive side of the ball, the Sacramento Kings, Coach Mike Brown, his teammates, the fans, they're living with that all day long, because that means that you have to respect him from out there. And when you have to respect him from out there, it opens up every other part of his offensive game. Now, De'Aaron Fox, what stands out the most about him to me is his speed. His speed makes him very, 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 very tough to deal with, because now him having all this experience, him having all this NBA training, now he knows how to use that speed to his advantage. Now that speed is not just untamed and is not just wild and all over the place, but now it's cerebral. Now he's patient, and what I mean by that is that he knows how to rock his man to sleep, size him up with his dribble moves, and then when that defender falls asleep, he can accelerate with that quick first step. And then also from there, he has so many things he can do out of it. Use that quick first step to get all the way to the rim, or he can stop on a dime and pull up for that mid-range shot. And his mid-range shot has actually become like cash money. He does not miss that. So that right there, that speed and knowing when to slow down, when to speed up, it's just so hard to stop. Getting to the rim, he's a great finisher around the rim. Now he's shooting floaters over taller defenders. He's embracing contact, getting and ones. He can finish with both hands. He's finishing over guys, dunking the basketball, and he's just a complete package. He's just a complete package on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to scoring, and I just love watching De'Aaron Fox go out and get his buckets. And we look at the second factor we talked about when it comes to being an unguardable NBA player. The ability of you scoring, or the threat of you scoring the basketball, should get your teammates some of the easiest looks that they've seen in their NBA careers. And watching the Sacramento Kings from the beginning of last season up until right now, I would say that happens when De'Aaron Fox is out on the basketball court. And of course, you have to have the right personnel around your superstar in order for this to happen. And I think the Sacramento Kings have done a great job of putting the right complementary pieces around De'Aaron Fox. And you just have to love this starting five, because everyone around De'Aaron Fox can knock down the jump shot. We look at Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter. They can all shoot the blood out of the basketball from the three-point line. Domas, he's not a guy you can leave wide open off the ball, because first of all, he's setting those big gigantic screens, so that big has to be up to help. So there's really nobody you can sag off of on this team. And also Domas, he can knock down a 3-point shot. He doesn't take too many of them, but he does take a lot of mid-range shots, and he does knock them down at a very high clip. So what I'm getting at is that defenses are now, when it comes to De'Aaron Fox and the Sacramento Kings, is really a pick your poison type of situation. Because now if De'Aaron Fox, if he's going off and he's getting those buckets and he's beating his matchup really badly on that night, it puts coaches in a very, very tough position. Do we want to keep letting De'Aaron Fox get whatever he wants against who's ever guarding him, or do we cave in and make somebody else beat us and start leaving these snipers wide open? So whatever that coach decides to do, if they do decide to put all their attention on De'Aaron Fox, now you're leaving shooters wide open. Now you're leaving Keegan Murray wide open. Now you're leaving Kevin Huerter wide open. And now you're leaving Harrison Barnes wide open. And another way that De'Aaron Fox just creates so much gravity towards him, it's just the pressure. We talked about this in the last segment. Just the pressure that he's putting on the defense with his penetration and his speed. A lot of the times he's causing guys to help out of the corners from the weak side, and he's a good enough passer to find those guys who are wide open from their man helping. So that right there, I think, plays a huge part of a player being unguardable, because it's opening up everything for that offense. And then the last thing we talked about was consistency. And if De'Aaron Fox wasn't consistent last year, I don't know what consistent is. And he finished the season averaging around 25 points per game, and he was the best player in the fourth quarter last season. And he carried that over into the playoffs, where he had a fantastic series against the Golden State Warriors, but unfortunately they fell short. And this year, So far this year, De'Aaron Fox has been unreal on 5 games that he's played. We know he's missed a little bit of time due to that ankle injury. In the 5 games that he's played so far this season, he's averaging 30 points, 49% from the field, and 35% from the three-point line. So De'Aaron Fox, man, he's really fun to watch, and I think he's taking his game to a whole new level. And after finding out that he's only 25, that means there's even more levels that De'Aaron Fox could get to, which is pretty scary. But that's going to be it for this video, man. I had to get that off my chest about De'Aaron Fox after watching him against the Lakers last night. That's all I was thinking about, making this video on De'Aaron Fox tomorrow. But if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.